Here's a number that should scare you. Since 2000, average rents in the US have increased by over 150%. Wages up about 65%. That gap isn't an accident, and it's not going to fix itself. If you're renting right now, or you think you might rent again in the future, this video is the one you need to watch, because once you understand why rent keeps going up, you'll stop waiting for it to come back down. Let's start with the most basic economic law. When supply is low and demand is high, prices go up. After the 2008 housing crash, home builders nearly stopped building. Permits collapsed, construction workers left the industry, and the people who stayed got older. The average age of a construction worker today is over 40, and younger workers aren't rushing in to replace them. So for almost a decade, we built far fewer homes than we needed. The National Association of Realtors estimates the US is short somewhere between 5 and 7 million housing units. That's not a small gap. That's a structural hole that took 10 years to dig and will take at least 10 more to fill. And here's the cruel irony. When builders finally started picking up the pace, supply chains broke down. Lumber prices tripled during the pandemic. Concrete, steel, labor, all of it spiked. The cost to build a new apartment today is dramatically higher than it was 5 years ago. That cost gets passed directly to you, the renter. Now let's talk demand, and not just the temporary kind. Millennials, the largest generation in American history, are in their peak renting and home buying years. But here's the thing, millions of them can't buy, not because they don't want to, but because home prices have risen so fast that a starter home now requires a 6-figure income just to qualify for the mortgage. So they keep renting, which keeps demand high, which keeps rents high. But it gets more complicated. Remote work changed where people want to live. Medium-sized cities, Boise, Austin, Nashville, Raleigh, saw demand explode almost overnight. Local housing stock couldn't absorb it. Rents jumped 30, 40, even 50% in a matter of 2 years, and institutional investors accelerated the problem. Large investment firms bought hundreds of thousands of single-family homes during low interest rate years, converting them from owner-occupied properties into rentals. That shrank the inventory available for people trying to buy, pushing them back into the rental market. So why won't it just come back down? Because landlords have something called a rent floor. The moment a landlord's mortgage, insurance, maintenance, and property tax costs go up, and all of them have, they cannot lower rent below that number without losing money. They'd rather let a unit sit empty for a month than sign a long-term lease at a loss. Property taxes across the country are surging because they're tied to assessed home values, which went up. Insurance in states like Florida, California, and Texas has spiked dramatically due to climate-related risk. These aren't landlords being greedy. These are structural cost increases that make lower rents mathematically impossible for most properties. And zoning laws? They haven't caught up. Single-family zoning still dominates most American suburbs. Cities where land is abundant still make it legally difficult, sometimes impossible, to build apartments. The politics of housing reform are slow, messy, and deeply local. Progress happens, but not fast enough. So where does that leave you? First, stop waiting for rent to fall before making financial decisions. That wait could cost you years. Instead, plan around rent being sticky, not cyclical. Second, if home ownership is a goal, reverse engineer it. What income, credit score, and down payment do you need? Build towards that number with intention. Even a small condo in a less trendy neighborhood can be a powerful wealth-building tool if it locks in your housing cost. Third, look at your city's zoning meetings, your local ballot measures, your city council candidates. Housing policy is decided at the local level. The people who show up to those meetings shape the supply of housing for the next 20 years. Your presence matters more there than in almost any national conversation. And fourth, negotiate. Landlords hate vacancy more than they hate negotiation. If your lease is up and the market has softened even slightly, ask. The worst answer is no. Rent is not a temporary problem with a temporary solution. The forces keeping it high, tight supply, permanent demand, rising costs, and slow policy are structural. They don't unwind in a year or two, but understanding a system is the first step to navigating it. If this video helped you see the housing market differently, subscribe, because we break down exactly these kinds of economic realities every week. And drop in the comments, what's your biggest housing challenge right now? I read every one. See you in the next one.